Okay, guys, welcome back. We are on Unit 5 still, and we have just finished doing all of our text structures. We are still talking about informational text, so make sure you have your reading notebook out. We are in our table of contents, and instead of talking about text structures this time, we are going to be talking about text information. That is what our title is going to be. Today we are going to be working on author's purpose and perspective. This is going to be, my last one was on page 48, so I'm going to start on page 49 with this lesson. All right, so once you get that written down, you are also going to want to make sure that you take a moment and you read this lovely article right here. I am going to see if I can zoom out just a little bit more. And if you have not read this article, you need to pause the video right here. And we have a whistled language. In schools in the Canary Islands, kids learn an ancient whistling language. And then I'm going to move it up so that way you guys can pause it and start reading at this paragraph and go all the way down here. Okay? All right, now that you have read the article, we're going to go ahead and talk about author's perspective, purpose, and perspective. That means that I'm going to flip my notebook to the next blank page. Text structure, cause and effect. Switching text structure is my next blank page. This is going to be page 49, I said. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I write down 49 right here in the bottom. Uh-oh, my marker is dead. There's no more marker left. All right. Page 49 right there. And then I'm going to title this lovely, lovely page with author's purpose and perspective. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about author's purpose. Now, you should have in your notes somewhere, and you should be able to remember, there are 3 author's purposes. What are the 3 purposes for an author to write? If you said pie, you are absolutely correct. Sort of. An author's purpose for writing is not actually pie, even though pie is delicious to eat. What we are going to do is use pie in order to remember the author's purpose. So the first one is to persuade. Second reason is to inform. And last but not least is to entertain. Okay, so we have persuade, inform, and entertain. And if you have not guessed it already, there is one specific title or purpose that we have for informational text, and that would be to inform for informational text. So basically with inform, we are passing on information. Passing on information. When you pass on information, there's a couple of different ways that you can do that, and that's actually what we're really focusing in on with this author's purpose. An author can describe the information. The author can show you the information. Describe, that would be like word choice or descriptive text structure. Showing might be pictures or photographs or illustrations. They can just flat out tell you about it using their words. They can explain it to you. This is why this happens. Or they can compare and contrast the information with other information that they have. Okay, so there's some different reasons or different ways that we can find information, or the author can choose to present the information. Now, when we're looking at this, we also need to think about and take into consideration the author's perspective. So right underneath inform, we're going to do perspective. Sorry, my E was a little funny. Perspective. And when we're talking about perspective, when we're talking about somebody's perspective, you're talking about how a specific individual views an event. So if, say, Miss Rogge is making her dinner and she accidentally drops a little chicken without a bone onto the floor, I am going to view the event. My perspective is as a tragedy. Oh, I lost my chicken on the floor. I do not have chicken to eat. But my dog's perspective is, woohoo! Mom just dropped food on the floor for me to eat. So the perspective depends on who you are that decides how you view that event. Some people can see an event as being something good, such as the dog seeing the chicken fall, thinking it's good, or you could view it as not good, such as Miss Rogge dropping the chicken and realizing she has no more dinner left to eat. When you are looking for an author's perspective, you need to ask yourself one specific question. How does the author feel about this topic? He might be talking about something like a volcanic eruption, and you would think, oh, volcanic eruption took out an entire village, but the author might think that might be a good thing because he says, oh, look, nature can come back, the animals now have a place to live. So you really need to think about, just because it might not be something you think is a good idea or something that's good, you really need to consider, how does the author feel about that topic? How does he think about it? And we're going to practice that here with our article, A Whistled Language. So if you have not done so, you need to go ahead and print off a copy of A Whistled Language, and you can follow along. If you have not printed off a copy, don't panic. You'll just follow along as I do it, and you'll write some additional notes in here. All right, everybody, we are back, and my video has stopped working on my camera, so all you guys are going to get to see right now is this camera. That said, we should be just fine. We are going to zoom out just a little bit more, though. So hopefully you printed off or you have access to A Whistled Language. And what we're going to do is we're going to go look through for clues on author's perspective, or sorry, author's purpose and author's perspective. So the first thing is, we're doing informational text, which is a pretty good giveaway that we're doing inform. But what I want you to look for is whether or not the author is describing, telling, showing, explaining, or comparing and contrasting the information. So when I look at A Whistled Language, I'm going through here, and hopefully you've already read it, but I'm going through, and I can see right here, it says, it's the sound of people whistling in the streets. This is a tell. They are literally telling you what you would be hearing. They're speaking a language. Also a tell. The language is called Silbo Gomero, or the Gomeran whistle. They're not describing anything. They're not making you think of a specific image. They're literally just telling you the information. They're speaking a language, and the language that they're speaking is called a Gomeran whistle. Okay, the other thing that I have is I have these beautiful, beautiful maps right here. This is them showing me. I am being shown right here in this photograph with this boy whistling, as well as down here in this photograph with an older man whistling. These three are all pictures or illustrations that show me what's going on in this text. I now know what it looks like when people are speaking that language. I have no idea how they do it, but I know what it's going to look like. As I continued reading on through the text, I found down here, but by the middle of the 20th century, far fewer people spoke silbo. For one thing, people started using telephones. Another reason is that more Guimarans were moving into towns. So this is all about the whistled language. And one of the things that we have to remember is that, less people were speaking it, and right here they explained why. They told us that for one thing, people started using telephones and moving to towns. Those are two reasons why people were not using Silbo. Silbo is a big part of the island's heritage. This is again a tell. And then the last piece that I found when I was reading through here is that students learn the language from first grade through high school. That tells me that they're still using this language, and they're actually starting to use it and teach other people how to speak it to make sure that it doesn't die out and disappear. All right, so that is our author's perspective. We had, author's purpose. We know it's in form. We had 1, 2, 3 spots where they showed us information, several places where they just flat out told us information, and then one place where they explained why things were happening the way they were. Okay? Now, when we're talking about author's perspective, so we talked about the author's purpose, and we said we had show, tell, and explain. Now we're going to talk about our author's perspective. And I want to ask myself, how does the author feel about this topic? So how does the author feel about a whistled language? Well, when we're reading through it, I noticed that he said more and more young people can speak it. He talked about what really matters is for the students to feel that it belongs to them. He felt that that was an important quote. So he thinks that students should feel that it belongs to them. He thinks people should think it's important. So how do I think, or what do I think the author feels about this topic? I think, and I'm going to go ahead and write this down in my notes. The author feels that a whistled, sorry, I should put open quotation marks, whistled language is important to the people of La Gomera. Now, for those of you who are like, La Gomera, where did you get that, Miss Ruggie? Well, I went back and I glanced through my text really quick, and right up here it says in La Gomera, a small island. And so that tells me that a whistled language came from La Gomera in the Canary Islands right here. Okay, so that's why I know that it's important to the people of La Gomera. So that is how I find my author's purpose and my author's perspective. As always, if you need to pause this video in order to catch up on the notes, you are more than welcome to do so at this time.